Welcome back to Previously on Earth. When we peer back into the mists of medieval Europe, our minds often settle on the highborn, the knights in shimmering armor, the kings in their stone keeps, and the monks in their silent cloisters. But history isn't just written in gold and stone, it's lived in the mud, the sweat, and the bizarre tasks of the common folk. Today, we are going beyond the myths to explore the real, gritty, and often stomach-turning occupations that kept medieval society functioning. These weren't just oddities. They were essential roles in a world without modern technology. We are embarking on a full 12-minute journey into the lives of those who did the work no one else wanted to touch. From the depths of the cesspits to the most intimate chambers of royalty, and from the swampy wetlands to the plague-ridden streets, we'll see how these strange jobs were the backbone of an entire civilization. So, prepare yourself. Things are about to get very real and very weird. In the heart of a medieval city like London or Paris, the lack of a modern sewer system created a monumental problem for thousands of residents. Every home had a cesspit, essentially a deep hole in the ground for human waste. Enter the gong farmer. Derived from the Old English word gang, which meant to go, these men were the unsung heroes of urban sanitation. Their job was strictly nocturnal. By royal decree, they could only work between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. to spare the public's eyes and noses from their gruesome task. They would descend into the deep, cramped, and often crumbling stone pits to manually shovel out the waste into large barrels. It was dangerous, nauseating work. Workers faced the constant threat of asphyxiation from noxious fumes and even drowning. Yet, because the work was so vital and so revolting, gong farmers were among the highest-paid laborers of the era. They often earned more in a few nights than a skilled mason earned in a week. They were the essential line of defense against the plagues and diseases that thrived in urban filth, proving that in the Middle Ages, cleanliness truly came at a premium price. While the gong farmer worked in the shadows of the streets, the groom of the stool worked in the most intimate proximity to absolute power. This role, exclusive to the royal court, involved assisting the monarch with their most private physical needs, specifically their bathroom duties. To a modern ear, it sounds like the ultimate humiliation, but in the Tudor and medieval periods, it was one of the most coveted and prestigious positions in the kingdom. Why? Because it granted unparalleled ear time with the king. While the groom handled the king's personal hygiene, he also handled his secrets. In the privacy of the royal privy, away from the prying eyes of the court, the king would often speak freely about politics, war, and marriage. The groom of the stool became a trusted confidant, often influencing royal policy and securing lucrative positions, titles, and lands for their families. It is a stark reminder that in the world of absolute monarchy, proximity to the royal person, in any capacity, was the ultimate currency of political power. To be the one who knew the king's most private habits was to be a man of immense influence. Long before the digital beep of a smartphone or the mechanical clang of a wind-up alarm clock, there was the knocker-up. In a time when mechanical clocks were rare, expensive, and often inaccurate, and the working day began at the very first light of dawn, the knocker-up was the community's human alarm clock. They were typically older men or women who were paid a few pennies a week by local workers to ensure they got to the factory or the fields on time. Armed with long bamboo poles, or even pea shooters for those on higher floors, they would patrol the streets, tapping persistently on windows until they were certain their client was awake and out of bed. They wouldn't leave until they saw a face at the window. This wasn't just a medieval oddity. The profession survived well into the Industrial Revolution. It highlights a fundamental shift in human history, the transition from living by the natural cycle of the sun to living by the rigid schedule of the clock. These workers were the guardians of punctuality, ensuring that the gears of society kept turning on time, long before technology took over the task. Medical science in the Middle Ages was dominated by the theory of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. To stay healthy, physicians believed these fluids had to be perfectly balanced, and the most common way to achieve that balance was through bloodletting. This created a massive, constant demand for leeches. The leech collectors were the ones who supplied this living medicine. They were often poor women who would wade into marshes, ponds, and stagnant riverbanks, using the most effective bait available, their own bodies. They would stand in the water for hours with their legs bare, allowing the leeches to latch onto their skin. Once the leeches were satiated and bloated with blood, the collectors would pluck them off and place them in jars to be sold to physicians. It was a grueling, damp, and physically draining job that left workers prone to infection, chronic blood loss, and a variety of waterborne illnesses. They sacrificed their own health and comfort to satisfy a medical theory that we now know was fundamentally flawed. Yet in their time, they were the providers of the ultimate cure-all. In the medieval textile industry, the role of the fuller was essential, but incredibly unpleasant. Before wool could be used to make fine clothing, it had to be cleaned and thickened, a process called fulling. This involved removing the lanolin, dirt, and oils from the raw wool. The most common cleaning agent used for this? Human urine. It was collected from public vats placed around the town. Fullers would stand in large tubs filled with this stale urine and raw wool, and they would stomp on it for hours at a time with their bare feet. The ammonia in the urine acted as a powerful cleaning agent. The smell was overpowering, and the physical toll of treading in a vat of cold liquid all day was immense. Yet this stinky, grueling process was what transformed rough wool into the soft, durable felted cloth that was the backbone of the European economy. The fuller was a vital link in the chain of commerce, literally treading out the wealth of the nation in a tub of waste. In the Middle Ages, if you needed a haircut and a tooth pulled, or even a limb amputated, you went to the same person, the barber surgeon. Unlike university-educated physicians who focused on internal medicine and theory, barber surgeons were practical craftsmen. They belonged to guilds and were trained through apprenticeships. Their iconic red and white striped pole is a direct reference to their trade, white for the bandages and red for the blood. They performed a wide range of tasks, from trimming beards and cutting hair to more complex procedures like lancing boils and performing basic surgeries on the battlefield. Without anesthesia or an understanding of germs, these operations were terrifying and incredibly dangerous for the patient. But barber surgeons were the primary healthcare providers for the common people. They were the ones with the sharpest tools and the steadiest hands, blending cosmetic grooming with high-stakes medical intervention in a way that seems unthinkable today, but was a daily reality for medieval citizens. In some remote parts of medieval Europe, particularly in rural Britain, there existed a ritualistic and highly stigmatized role, the sin eater. When a person died, it was believed that their unconfessed sins would prevent them from entering heaven. To save the soul of the deceased, a sin eater was hired. They would sit beside the body and consume a piece of bread and a bowl of ale that had been placed on the chest of the dead. In doing so, it was believed they literally ate the sins of the person, taking the spiritual burden onto themselves. For this service, they were paid a small pittance, but at a terrible social cost. Sin eaters were social outcasts, feared and shunned by the community, believed to be perpetually carrying the spiritual weight of dozens of souls. It was a job born of deep religious fear and a desperate desire for salvation, performed by those at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. As we look back at these roles, the gong farmer, the groom of the stool, the knocker-up, the leech collector, the fuller, the barber surgeon, and the sin eater, it's easy to laugh or recoil in disgust. But these roles tell a deeper story of human resilience, ingenuity, and adaptation. They remind us that every society, no matter the era, is built on a foundation of difficult, overlooked, and often strange labor. History isn't just about the crown on the head. It's about the tools in the hand and the sweat on the brow. These people were the essential cogs in the medieval machine, ensuring that cities were clean, kings were attended, healthcare was provided, and spiritual needs were met. So, as you go about your modern workday, take a moment to appreciate how far we've come, and maybe be a little thankful you don't have to wade into a cesspit or eat someone's sins tonight. Which of these jobs do you think required the most courage or had the most impact? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden corners of the past, don't forget to subscribe to Previously on Earth for more episodes. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating story of our world.